This is like amazing timing that I came out here to record because I opened up my garage and I'm sitting in my car, as you can see. But I just like, I don't know, this is where I gravitate to when I want to record something. And I'm looking out as I'm setting up my camera, and there's so many dragonflies, like at least 20 to 25 just flying around in front of me, in front of my garage. As many people know, dragonflies are omens or symbols of transformation. And here I am, many months later, starting to record again, feeling like myself again. And there's a very good reason as to why I did not feel like myself. And that's what I'm going to talk about. The reason why I have not been feeling like myself is because I found out a couple months ago, unexpectedly, like completely blindsided. I don't know what's farther than out of left field, but further than that, I found out I am pregnant with my second child. And anybody that knows myself and my husband know that we very much so were one and done. We're not having any more kids, that's for sure. But we did say when our daughter was born, and then when she was around like 2, like before we were like for sure, like certain that we were not going to have any more kids, we were like, if we ever did have a second one, which that would be our limit, we would try to have the second one when Kehlani's around like 5 or 6 years old. Okay? And that's why you got to watch what you say, because we came to the conclusion, wrapped our heads around, we were one and done. It was just going to be us and Kehlani for the remainder of our lives here on Earth. And we went on a trip to Hawaii. And I feel like, and maybe this is me just thinking too much, but I feel like I did feel a little weird in Hawaii. But to be fair, that would have been around the time of like implantations. I don't know if you're really feeling much at that time, but I don't know that you really feel anything at, maybe technically a month pregnant. But anyways, we get back from Hawaii. My period was supposed to start that Monday. I think we got back Saturday early in the morning, and I was supposed to start my period on Monday. Never did. Didn't think much of it because these past like 6 months, my period's always been very regular, and I know when I am ovulating, I can already tell like with what's going on with my body and all of that kind of stuff. If you're a woman, you know what I'm talking about. I can tell when I'm ovulating. My periods are very regular. They're roughly around the same amount of days each cycle. But 2 times here and there over these past 6 months, my period would start a couple days later. And there's always the factors of like starting to lift weights. If you haven't worked out in a while, that'll throw your period off. Or obviously the obvious one, stress. I am absolutely an overthinker. My brain is always working, sometimes in good ways, sometimes not in very good ways. So that could have been a thing too. And so I didn't think anything of it. And then Tuesday comes around, nothing. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna start it. Wednesday comes around. Oh no, I was supposed to start on Sunday. That's what it was. Sunday, nothing. Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. And I'm like, and Tuesday night I had gone out with my friend at the restaurant she works at, and I had one drink, and we were just talking about like our pregnancy experiences and like things that she's experienced in her motherhood journey. And she had made a comment like, that'd be so crazy if you were pregnant right now. And I was like, yeah, haha, like, no, but I'm not. I know I'm not. And we just laughed it off. And then the next morning on Wednesday, I still had not got my period. So that would have been day 4 if I never got, which obviously I never did, but I didn't know at the time. That was the start of day 4 of no period. And I was like, Okay, I had one pregnancy test from a pack that I had taken a long time ago when one of those times where my period was late. So I took one and it was obviously negative. But this time I was like, I'm just going to take this to clear my mind so I know for sure, like, it's going to say negative. I just want to take it so that I have that physical proof for myself. So I take the test, sitting on the counter. I'm just sitting there kind of like, because you have to let it sit for a little bit while it's working. And I got the clear blue, like, rapid thing. So it says either pregnant or not pregnant in words. You don't get confused by the lines. And I'm sitting there and I honestly kind of forgot that the pregnancy test was working sitting next to me, because I have very many air signs in my chart. I get lost in my head a lot. So I just kind of like snapped back into it and I had like looked over and I was like, oh yeah, the pregnancy test. And I looked at it and that bitch said pregnant. I have never been thrown off guard, surprised that much in my life. I truly did not think I was ever going to be pregnant again. Not because I couldn't be, but because I did not want to be. And I thought we were just going to be one and done. No. And guess what? You know how I told you what my husband and I said when my first daughter was born? And, you know, a few years after she was born, before we decided we weren't having another child, my first daughter was 6. My first daughter was 6 when I found out. She was about to be 7 the following month, but she was 6. And we said if we ever did, we would do it when Kaylani was 5 or 6 years old. Wow. The universe really got me with that one. I mean, is there any other bigger surprise? Like, I had fully wrapped my head around this just being my body, just working on myself, creating these foundations to build the life that I wanted to build. And then, boom, you're pregnant, actually. Go ahead and throw that into your plans. When it took me, I was going through it mentally for several weeks. I mean, to be so for real, like at least a month after finding out. And I found out towards the end of May, and it is now it's almost the end of July. So it's been about 2 months. I was just not mentally prepared for that. I mean, I think it's one thing if you're kind of open to it, but you're not really trying for it, and then it happens and it's like, oh, cool. But like, I was adamant that I was not going to be pregnant ever again. Not that I had a bad pregnancy experience. Being pregnant with my first child, it was smooth. It was fine. I had nausea in the first trimester and was really tired, but after that, everything was smooth sailing. I didn't have any complications. I did end up having to have somewhat of an emergency. It was unplanned, somewhat of an emergency C-section. But to be honest, I feel like that ended up happening because I was not as educated as I am this time on some of the hospital practices and how they try to rush you along. I know not everybody has, bad intentions, but they do try and keep things moving pretty quickly. And I had gone to my last doctor's appointment not knowing I was going to be sent to the hospital, and my doctor was like, yeah, no, you need to go down the street to the hospital because the baby's not growing anymore, so she needs to come out. Like I said, I didn't know anything, so I was like, yeah, sure. And they checked me. I was barely 1 centimeter dilated, and they had put the monitor on my stomach, and I believe after a little bit of time they started me on Pitocin, but it still, wasn't progressing at all. But now that I know more, I was sitting in that bed for hours. I was not moving. I wasn't moving my body around. My body was not, it was somewhat shocked too, because I was not prepared to go to the hospital that day. and have my child. So obviously my labor was not progressing at all, and her heart rate kept dropping for some reason. They were like, yeah, no, this is the third time her heart rate has dropped, we're gonna do a C-section now. And I was like, okay. I mean, at that point, why would I say no? I didn't know anything about what they were talking about, and they're telling me my child's heart rate is dropping multiple times and it's unsafe and we need to do a C-section. So of course I'm going to say yes. But regardless, that just was like very traumatizing for me. It took me a very long time to process that. So I also have that stored in my subconscious as I'm thinking about like processing, okay, damn, I really am pregnant again. Like, this is crazy. And while I might not be consciously thinking about the things that I was feeling during that experience the first time that I was pregnant, it is still stored within my body. And so I had a very rough time postpartum. I was really struggling postpartum. I even got into like, I've always liked to drink, but got into it quite heavily. Like, it got so bad to the point where I was taking like 7, 8 shots Friday night, Saturday night. And I remember trying to like think and talk to people the following days, in my brain, like I would jumble my words. My brain just was not working. I would even still, while doing that, sometimes on Wednesdays, I would get wine and finish a whole bottle myself. I didn't know what to do. I did not have the right tools. I was unaware of what I was going through and how to process any of that. It was a very lonely time. I felt very alone, even though, some family members were like, hey, when I first had my child, hey, if you need anything, let us know. But that was kind of like the extent of it. And struggling so much, I didn't really want anybody to see me struggling like that. And I am a Cancer sun, so I very much so retreat into my shell, and go into hermit mode when I'm experiencing a lot and I'm struggling mentally and I need to process a lot of things. So I have all of that in my head and in my subconscious when I'm realizing I'm pregnant again, and it freaked me out for a while. I was not accepting of it. It just freaked me out. I could not believe I was actually pregnant again. Like I said, I was pretty sure I wasn't doing this ever again, because it was such a rough time the first time, and being a first time mom and all of that. It was also quite conflicting, because at the same time that I was feeling all of those emotions, I was still excited that we were going to be having another child, another baby. I didn't really know what to do about those feelings, like, happening at the same time. Being kind of upset that I'm pregnant again, because I really did not want to be pregnant again. But also excited that we were going to be having another child, because our first child is amazing. She's so beautiful, so smart. She's so kind and caring and extremely thoughtful. So of course I'm like, yeah, I know we raised her, so I know my other child is going to be similar to that. It's not even an issue of like, oh, you have another responsibility, another kid to take care of. I'm not concerned about that. It was first and foremost that I did not want to be pregnant again. But second, those subconscious feelings were right there. I was scared of experiencing what I experienced the first time, and I am aware enough and conscious enough to know that it is a brand new experience, and it does not have to be like the first time. It can be if I choose to make it that way, but it does not have to be like the first time. I can go about it so much differently. By the time I give birth to this child, I will be almost 30 years old. So I'll be almost 7 years older than when I had my first child. So there's a lot of growth within that time period. There's a lot of wisdom I have learned within that time period. I'm a lot more educated on not so much pregnancy. I did do quite a bit of researching and learning about pregnancy the first time. More so, I'm more educated this time around on birth, what that naturally can look like, and how to prepare myself for that. The ways that I can advocate better. Advocate. You know what I mean? Better for myself when it is time to give birth. So there's that. That's why I thought that was so beautiful that as I sat down to record this, there were so many dragonflies. And not only is it a good omen to see dragonflies in general, but the timing of it, everything always works out so beautifully for me. The timing of it, what I was getting ready to do, what I was getting ready to talk about, it was just so beautiful. The fact that there were so many intensifies that omen and that sign. I'm just always in awe of how strong of a divine presence I have, but also how strong my connection, even while being in a human vessel, how strong my connection is to the divine energy that is all around us and within us. There's always signs. You just have to be open to receiving those signs. You have to have your eyes, literally all of your eyes open to be able to catch those signs and the synchronicities. That was a huge synchronicity. The timing of all of it. I can go on and on about that. I think that I don't know that I'll ever not be in awe or amazed by experiencing these synchronicities with this beautiful world around us. That felt so good to get out. Not only, I've obviously thought about it for a long time. For a while. A long time is crazy. I just got out of my first trimester. I've talked to my husband about it too, which does really help, but I love this form of expression. I love seeing myself on the camera. I'm not ashamed to say that because it's not coming from my ego. I love seeing myself on camera because this is my form of artistic expression. It's just like, models, they love seeing how beautiful they look in these photos and campaigns and all that, or even just other people's works of art, whether that's painting or sculpting or whatever they like to create. They love to look at it. They love seeing what it looks like. I love seeing myself on this camera screen because it's also reminding me that I am capable, that I am doing what I want to be doing. So many people, including myself for a long time, avoid doing what they love to do and never get to experience what that feels like. And I'm just tired of going back and forth and not experiencing what it feels like. So here's to me continuing to express myself, for lack of better words. I don't know. This pregnancy brain is so for real. I love it. I'm ready for my second child. I'm so for real this time. There's really not going to be any more children. I'm not producing any more children after this. No. It's just simply not going to happen. Anyways, that's all for now.